Thank you, Tracee, for coordinating this wonderful call with our special guest, Madeline. Madeline is someone that's been with us for a very long time. Madeline is a tremendous sponsor of the Quantum Twine Wave to all of her friends, and her incredible many relationships. How many people have you brought in, Madeline? I think
I
probably
honestly don't know, but I've sent it
30, 40 people.
out. Yeah, at least. I I send it out to my list, so, it goes out to maybe 3,500 people that
Wow.
get
Wow.
my
See,
list.
there's probably many more that we didn't know. We could
There could very well
we
be.
could call you an ambassador and make you an ambassador right along with Ron and Will and Alex.
Oh,
See,
that'd be fun. That would be fun, yeah.
it would. So you have a group that you communicate with. How often? Monthly? These 3,500?
Oh, no, usually weekly. Some of these people are subscribers and some of them are freebies. And since I do business, economic, and personal astrology, what I'm sending them primarily is information about the cycles of what's going on so that they're able to work with the energies instead of against them, which doesn't
That's a
work
good
that
idea.
great anyways.
Yeah, that's great. So, Madeline, you've been with us. You've been supporting Carden Group since the days of Shelton, right? You've
Yes,
known us for
yeah, long
since
time, yeah.
2019, a very long
Uh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
You're involved in this global shift in
yeah.
every way possible, aren't you?
Yes, and I tell people about it, and of course, there are some people that don't want to know about it.
No, they don't want to know. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you see,
So,
Tracee, we have history here with Madeline. Madeline brought a friend back when we first launched our free website that was newgifting.org,
mhm.
newgifting.org. And it was a beautiful app that Christine and Laura made to help people prepare for their projects.
Mhm.
And Madeline had some projects that she shared. And she actually gave a little bit of a talk that we shared with everybody back then. That was 2019, wasn't it, Madeline?
Yeah, and that was primarily about my other work, which is prosperity training. And so, although it seems disparate, actually prosperity training is all about energy as well. It's actually all about energy. We just don't recognize it because we're not trained to understand energy in our culture. But everything that is occurring, whether it's in your environment, your body, outside of you, is all related to different energies that are occurring at the time and how you focus your energy and so forth. So so really everything is related to energy. And so that's what we're working on training people to understand.
You
Oh,
know,
that's awesome.
that, that's that's 100% right there.
Mhm.
And we heart everybody, we heart everybody that is focused on energy. I had that very discussion here with Greg because we've got a new prayer meeting that's starting up, and my discussion with him was, I want to make it about energy.
Yeah,
Prayer is energy.
that's right.
Everything
That's
is
right.
energy. I want this all about God's spark.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see, that's why I was so excited when you opened up quantum because I knew for years that the real method of healing was through frequencies. And I just was waiting for this to become more mainstream. And I knew
Yeah,
about med beds, oh, probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. And
yeah.
I just was waiting. I mean, I was using whatever tools there were. There were plenty of energy tools out there, and I was using all those. But now we finally get to the crux of the matter. And
That's wonderful.
you guys opened it, and so yeah, it's been great. I was so excited that you guys opened. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is absolutely a labor of love, and it's past due. Dr. Alfredo made it happen with me. And,
Yep.
and God spoke. to me through my God spark. My
Mm-hmm.
body started doing this. I was so excited to get going with this. I said, okay, I got it. There you go. And so
Yes, yes.
we got started, and everything has moved pretty securely. However, as you know, it's been a rough 2 years, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
had a we've had our ups and downs, and Madeline doesn't regularly chart what QHS does, right, Madeline? You haven't done that. I don't know why not.
Well, you know, I have been kind of waiting for something to show up that looked like money was coming. And finally, it looks like it's happening in May. And I loved your word restoration because that was the only thing I could think of that could cause it. I'm actually a business, economic, and personal astrologist. So my degree is in economics. And when I first got into astrology and started learning business and economic astrology, I was shocked to realize that whatever they taught me in college was irrelevant to what was happening in the world now.
That's right.
Yeah, because the cycles that we're under now, I mean, they haven't happened in hundreds of years. Some of them not for 1,000 years. We're actually in the middle of a process that we didn't have since 1047. I think 1047 to 1087 was the last time we had these two
Wow.
cycles back to back. So you're
Wow.
talking really major shifts that don't occur frequently. Some of these cycles haven't occurred for 250 years and so on. And and they're occurring together, you see. These,
And in a way, never before.
yes. And so
Right.
I'm just sort of giving you a little background as to the economic situation that we're in is not something that other economists understand or
No.
they appreciate because they
No.
don't have the perspective of the cycles that we're in being so different. So we're actually in the process of changing from one type of economy to another. Now that doesn't occur very often, every few hundred years. And the last time it switched was in 1842, prior to December of 2020. So in December of 2020, we switched to a different type of economy, which is now what we would call an air economy in an astrological language. But this is things that are related to technology, to transportation, to communications, to relationships with other people or groups. You see, it's all of your growth and everything comes via these methods. That's not, the previous one was like agriculture and manufacturing and
Yeah.
services and financial products. And that stuff is still there. It's not going away, but that's not what the growth is from. The economy is switching more to all these other things, which, including the technologies. And so this just really started just a few years ago in December of 2020. Okay, so you're talking about a process that's like baby steps at the moment. You see, it's just really begun, and it'll last a couple hundred years. So we're just getting started with that. And so what's going on now is very, very interesting in light of the I'll call it the Great War. I don't know what else to call it. Uh, you have the black hats on one side and the white hats on the other side, if we could call them that. And you have a basically not just a war for the control of the planet, because that is it ultimately. But what we see mostly is the war for control of the financial system. And it's really at the critical point now where the bonds, the treasury bonds, they have to roll over $7 trillion of treasury bonds this spring, but they don't have any buyers because
Yeah,
so many
right
countries don't
now.
want it, right?
Yeah,
They don't want our bonds. And of course, if they can't sell those bonds, your dollar kind of gets trashed, right? So you could
right.
easily lose 25 to 30% of your dollar value. Not that your
When all the
dollar
buyers are, when all the buyers recognize that the United States is sanctioned, they're not going to be putting any money in the
right,
bonds because we're
right,
sanctioned. This country is sanctioned. We
right,
are, we they have done to us what we did to them.
right.
Right.
So uh, that point is coming pretty quickly. And you have other issues with the banks, of course, that could easily cause banks to fail. And there's multiple issues with banks, but bonds is one of them, and their assets have been devalued significantly due to the high interest rates, and their commercial loans are failing. And commercial, if somebody sells a commercial building now, they may get 30 to 40% less than they paid for it. You see, so that kind of leaves the bank holding the bag, so to speak. So you have all these major financial issues occurring at this time that could lead to an enormous problem in terms of the economy. So May makes no sense in terms of economic uh, parameters. There's
You're
no,
talking about astrologically the shift from to.
yeah, I'm talking about May being prosperous and abundant makes no sense in terms of the current economic status.
Which you'd think would send us into a tailspin like 1929. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Mm.
it might be worse even.
Right. It's predicted to be worse. The
It could easily be worse because it's
be
not
worse.
just the stock market. That's bad enough, but your bonds. Actually, people are actually running away from bonds and into the stock market. You see, so the stock market is not likely to crash. At least not originally. It would be your bonds that would crash first, not the stock market, because everybody's running to the stock market. You see. So the other thing that's going on is we have this giant eclipse. Now, there's a lunar eclipse this month on the 25th, which is next Monday. And actually that eclipse and the eclipse on April 8th, they both have the same primary meaning. Now, this is very interesting because it's nothing you're expecting. Everyone's kind of expecting something terrible, but the way eclipses work is they start one pole, and then they kind of work their way up to the top of the Earth to the other pole. It takes about 1,000 to 1,200 years for this series of eclipses to do this. And all of the planets in that, or all of the eclipses in that series, it's known as a Saros series, um, all of them have the same primary meaning as the first one. So the first one kind of seeds the whole thing, and everything following has a similar primary meaning, and then it's changed by the cycles that are occurring at that time. So the primary meaning of these two eclipses is that especially if you're impacted, and these eclipses may impact people who have either Aries or Libra planets in particular, because they're occurring in Libra and Aries. And if you're impacted by these eclipses, you're likely to have intuitive leaps, sudden flashes of insight, genius ideas, visionary dreams. I mean, these are all really great things that you could have, and you're likely to become inspired for some new project and need more freedom to go off and pursue that project, which could cause some challenges with your regular relationships because maybe you're not doing some of the things you typically do, right?
Yeah, yeah, that sent me on a thought right there. So that includes me. Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
so so that is the primary meaning of these two eclipses. So just think about that right there. Is that you have this fantastic set of possibilities that are coming up. Now, what's very interesting to me about that particular meaning is that we have two planets that are about to conjunct each other. It's probably the most significant aspect of the year, aside from this eclipse and Pluto moving into Aquarius. And this is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. These are two planets that are both associated with freedom, with independence, with travel and expansion, with technologies, new things. So you could have new technologies be released. But Uranus is the guy that's associated with those flashes of insight and these sudden intuitive leaps and things like that, and these genius ideas, you see. And so this is highlighted in this particular eclipse. So not only does the primary meaning of the eclipse talk about this, but so does this specific eclipse. These two eclipses have that particular energy to them. So the lunar eclipse on the 25th is actually a pretty nice eclipse. And so the one I really want to focus on is the April 8th because everybody is kind of freaking out about the April 8th eclipse. Now, this is also something that nobody's talking about hardly. I mean, everybody's like, oh, okay, it's Nineveh or Salem or whatever. But this eclipse is fascinating because it is sun, moon, and Chiron all at exactly 19 degrees and 24 minutes of Aries. So all three planets are at 19 degrees, 24 minutes. This is very unusual to have such an exact conjunction. They're together in the same place at the exact location. Now, Chiron is an interesting asteroid, and Chiron actually was a centaur. He was half human and half horse. Now, and he was born of the gods, and because they considered him to be a monster, they threw him out right away, and he went and lived in a cave and learned everything he could, and he ended up becoming the teacher to the kids of the gods. So he was the guy that taught all the like Hercules and Atlas and those kind of guys. And he also became a renowned healer. He was a renowned herbalist and healed many people. So Chiron is associated both with learning and teaching and healing, and also your greatest wound. So the U.S., and for that matter, the entire world, has been wounded severely in the last, well, severely in
200,
the last 4 years, but actually
200.
quite a long time ago. Yeah, exactly, 200 or more. Yeah. So now comes this, and I should explain that a solar eclipse, which is what we're having on the 8th of April, that solar eclipses are about something new getting started. A lunar eclipse is about something that's finishing up and completing. But the solar eclipse is about something new getting started. And here it is, it's conjunct Chiron. This is a big message that it's time to learn and heal. So this is a big message about that. Now, the USA, I use two charts for the US. One of them is the 4th of July chart, which everybody talks about. We think of that as our beginning. But that's actually more of what I would call a spiritual chart, because of course, from a legal standpoint, the US didn't exist from a legal standpoint on the 4th of July in 1776. So there's another chart that I call the Constitution chart that I also use for the US. But with the 4th of July chart, Chiron is within 40 minutes of the 19 degrees and 24-minute eclipse, the solar eclipse. So you have the sun, moon, and Chiron overhead conjuncting the USA Chiron. This is a super big message about healing and learning. And what would it take for the US to heal? People would have to learn what was going on. They'd have to understand what was going on all this time behind the scenes that they were unaware of. And so and a solar eclipse has an impact for a year. So you should be expecting that people are going to be learning this stuff over the next year. But there is likely to be a start of it fairly soon at the eclipse. Now, all eclipses can trigger what I would call a trigger, an eclipse event, an event that's related to the eclipse or the meaning of the eclipse. So it can trigger that event within 30 days, plus or minus. So we're already in the range where it could already be triggered. And because that would be March 8th, right? From March 8th to May 8th for that eclipse. So between now and May 8th, you should expect to see people learning and healing because, oh my God, is this what's been going on? Oh my God, Uncle Joe died for no good reason or whatever, you see. It's all these things that people are going to finally wake up to, should be starting with this eclipse. And like I say, it could happen anywhere within now through May 8th that people start doing this. So, and actually from March 8th to May 8th. So this is a kind of a big overarching message from the eclipse. Now, the second thing that's happening, and I already mentioned, Jupiter is conjuncting Uranus. So this is a signal that the new technologies or suppressed technologies are going to be released. And that, yeah. And that is one of those cycles. It actually stays in range through May 24th, and it'll be precise on April 20th. And this is a very significant cycle. It only happens about once every 13 years. It's happening in the sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus represents building things, especially building security. It represents values. You're building security for what you value, and currencies, the financial system, all that stuff is represented by Taurus. So we would expect to see, or I would expect to see, something like a new quantum financial system. Or you might also see gold and cryptos go way up. That's another possibility. If you don't have the new financial system, I would expect to see gold and cryptos go way up, because that would tell you that, and this is already happening. It's not as way up as I think it will go late April through May, but it's already happening. Gold's already up at like 2172. It was up to, I think, 2191 earlier. So
Madeline, let me take you a step here. March 8th, today's the 19th.
Right.
March 8th, that was right around the time we decided to implement our 6-month guarantee.
Oh, right. Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here we are evolving. When you talk about that was to me like a revelation.
Mm-hmm.
It really was, because
Yep.
I want to say we're walking the talk. We are delivering. You be here with us, support this, or we're going to make it easy for you not to be here. And then
Mm-hmm.
hopefully people will understand how important it is to be here and know what they're losing when they depart, right?
Yeah. Yes,
And
absolutely. Yes.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
it is. So just for this project, we are all listening. We're all so connected. We call this QHS Project, doing business in the new paradigm. This is
Mm-hmm.
the quantum paradigm. We are focused on listening to guidance. We all do it, everyone here. And we move, in with lightning speed with grace. Here we are now, the
Yeah.
March. We've stepped in, we've got our protection. We're calling everyone in to come in to support this project here through this difficult window time. The difficult window time is right here, right now, right?
Right.
Through
Exactly.
next month.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, through
and
April.
I didn't just hear
Yeah.
from you, Madeline. I've heard from many directions, including Dr. Alfredo, who tells me
Mm.
this is a this is going to be a window time here for everybody to be doing their best, because come May, we're going to see grace and gifts and
Yeah.
blessings and abundance, and everything is going to flow like the watershed event that we've been looking for forever. What does that mean to us, right?
Yes.
What does that mean to us? Okay, can you talk about it from for this project, specifically what you see, what you believe it means?
Well, okay. So the first thing we talked about healing, right, is a huge, huge, huge piece of this April 8th eclipse. So here we are. Quantum is bringing out a med bed, and the home health system and the little pocket devices. I mean, uh, this is a giant portion. So I don't know. Are you going to be able to release the med bed between now and next month, or do you think you'll be
Sorry,
able?
my husband's back here making noise. I have to keep muting you.
Oh,
Uh, okay.
do you,
Um,
you're going to be able to release the med bed, or?
so your question, the healing beds, plural, that we will be providing are secure, will be arriving on scene when we are green lighted.
So you haven't been green lighted yet.
No,
Okay.
no. We've
Okay.
been green lighted, red light, green light, red light, green light.
Oh,
It's like been very difficult. Okay. And that's kind of the same kind of a scenario that the world, people say she makes false promises. I had a girl say,
yeah.
I can't figure you out, Cynthia. And I thought,
I have heard that too. I've heard people complain to me that way. Yeah, I
you
understand.
know,
Well, and that's interesting about the red light, green light, because the eclipse actually has that energy in it. This is Mars conjunct Saturn, and let me just explain a little bit about this
well,
because,
let me make it very easy
oh,
for you. Right
okay.
hand, left hand. Okay.
So,
Right hand says go, go, baby. Left hand says, oh no, you don't. Right hand says, come on now, let's go. Left hand says, oh no, you don't, you know? And
and the
that's kind of
reason that happens is because the universe wants to make sure
exactly.
that you are using your resources, time, and energies effectively. So it doesn't want you to go put down carpet and then paint the walls. You see, it wants it wants you to get this in the right sequence and do it, effectively.
100% right.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other interpretation of Mars conjunct Saturn is that is a signature of the military signature. But this Mars conjunct Saturn is in a sign in a location in the chart that is somewhat I would call a chameleon military, meaning they are there, but they're going to tell you they're there for a different reason. You know, oh, we're just here for the eclipse, but maybe they're actually rounding up the bad guys. You see what I'm saying? They're doing sort of a chameleon sort of appearance, and they're not actually necessarily hidden, but they may be in places where you wouldn't notice them. You see, and so forth. But if you did notice them, they would give you a nice story that wasn't true. That was an illusion.
I wouldn't even try to ask them, right?
But anyways, so so there's stop and go energy, what I call stop and go energy, unless you have a written plan and you've got your green light from the universe because you wrote out your plan, you found all your problems, which generally speaking, if you're trying to shoot from the hip, you're not going to see the problem areas because you can't see it. It's in your head, right? So you need the written plan before your project will get a green light. And also during that time, Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is retrograde April 1st through April 25th. So that's not a go time. That's not a time to be starting something new. It's a time to review and fix things, find your problems, get the mistakes fixed, and reconsider your options because things may have changed, or probably you misunderstood a particular option that may have been better for you. And so, so you'll get correct energy, you'll get corrections, you'll have a chance to redo things and reconsider and review and so forth. So Mercury's retrograde is actually very, very slow at the eclipse time, and it's conjunct the Eris, which is the goddess of chaos and war. Now, that probably means that anyone that's in the path of the eclipse is going to spend hours in traffic. And I'm not talking a couple of hours. They may spend 4 hours doing what would be a half an hour drive. And even in rural areas, they may spend 2 hours to get on the freeway. If from a few miles away. I'm not kidding. So if you're planning to go someplace to see the eclipse, I recommend you go early, maybe the 6th, maybe the 5th. I wouldn't wait till the last minute because it's chaotic, very chaotic. And of course, it's interesting that Texas is bringing out the National Guard and warning their people to stock up on food and water for 2 weeks. And that's what the white hats tell you to do all the time anyways, right? So like, what is that suggesting? That's kind of interesting that there's a military signature in this eclipse. And, people are being told to stock up on food and water. So, so that eclipse does have the possibility of an earthquake because Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, and that can suggest the possibility of a lot of disruption. That is what your new technologies would do, correct? The new technologies would create a lot of disruption to the current systems. So a med bed, for example.
I think, did you just read the article I just wrote? Because I just did an analogy and compared it to an earthquake.
Oh, well, I didn't read that yet.
You didn't see that?
But it is like an earthquake. Yes, yes. It would be an earthquake to the health system for sure. The same thing with hovercraft.
Well, it leaves the ground unsteady. Yeah, you don't know how to get a firm foothold because the ground is shifting. Exactly.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And hover cars are likely to come out. Your replicator is like an advanced type of printer, right? A replicator is like an advanced 3D printer.
No. No,
Well,
the replicator is just like the bed. It's creating the 3D hologram. It's a 3D hologram. It's not created through materials that are put
oh no,
into it. See?
yeah, I
Yeah,
understand
right.
that. What I meant
Okay.
is that it's a more advanced form of
Hmm.
of you start off with a whatever they had back in the 1800s or whatever, and now you have printers, and now you're gonna then you have 3D printers, and then you're gonna have replicators.
Well, this is a systemic shift for
Yeah,
every system in the whole in North America.
mhm,
Energy, agriculture, medical,
yeah,
pharma,
mhm,
the
yeah,
list goes
exactly,
on and on, right?
yeah, exactly,
Transportation, oil and gas, because there's so much that is going to be affected. Every system just about is going to shift. There's going to be changing, settling. That's
right,
right.
exactly
Hmm.
right. So you have the potential for economic and industrial, um, social earthquakes, and you also have the potential for physical earthquakes. Now, this particular eclipse path crosses in 2017, August of 2017. We had a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse that went across the United States and went from west to east, and it divided the country, north from the south. This eclipse is going to go up from Texas up to the New England area, so it's going to divide the country west and east. And where those two cross is very close. I think they call it Carbondale, maybe Illinois. I can't remember it. That's right. Little Egypt. But it's very, very close to the New Madrid Fault. Now, the New Madrid Fault back in 1812, actually, it had 3 earthquakes.
There it is.
Very good. Okay, excellent. So that particular location does have the potential for an earthquake, and it had a very large, huge earthquake back in 1812. But it had 3 earthquakes: December 1811, January, and
This
February.
area here,
No, up where Little Egypt is, in that area.
I see here.
That area there, yeah. And it actually changed the direction of the Mississippi River. It opened up huge portions of Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. Felt
That's the Edgar Casey discussion. Yeah.
it was felt all the way up to the Dakotas, I believe, and all the way down. So it was a very significant earthquake. And that area, I would not expect to see an earthquake at the time of the eclipse. I don't see it astrologically at the time of the eclipse. But remember, eclipses can trigger an event for 30 days before and after. And whatever they trigger is going to be impacting somebody for a year. So now, later in April, on April 23rd, there's a full moon. And actually, from my perspective, that full moon is ominous. It looks like something very challenging, very transformational, which usually means not great,
Yeah. Hmm.
is occurring. And it's occurring very, very close to that New Madrid Fault. So I don't know if it will have an earthquake or if it will be serious or not if you do have an earthquake. But it is a possibility. And I had told my subscribers to start watching Dutch Sense, if they were in that region, to be watching Dutch Sense, and he on YouTube he has predicted earthquakes.
Dutch incense. Dutch incense.
No, it's
DUCHINSENSE.
no, I think it's DUTCHSINSE, and he's on YouTube, or he was on YouTube, I should say, and he was showing how there were earthquakes moving across the Southwest towards the center of the country and further east. And he
You want
got
to let
called off.
Tracee put that link in? You want to let Tracee put that link in?
Oh, let me see if I can.
He's
Um,
on YouTube.
well, he was on YouTube. They took him off, and then he moved to another channel. And
Rumble.
yes, but he got taken off of everything, and then he got
Wow.
onto a paid platform, and they cut his power to his house while he was doing a live. So
Wow.
he's not able to do any more earthquake lives. He's been doing these for years. This only happened just maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. Poor
And
guy.
of course, you're starting to look at this and going, well, this is kind of weird. Why is a guy talking about earthquakes being censored at a time when you could have a major earthquake? So anyways, I just throw that in as another dot that might suggest maybe the cabal is planning to create an earthquake. I don't know. But I will say this. Years ago, back in 2000, I was involved in a small group of people who got together and did emotional clearing to prevent an earthquake in Seattle. And sure enough, front page of the Seattle Times, several months later, they announced that there had been a silent earthquake.
I love that.
And it actually moved the plates out in the Juan de Fuca, moved a half an inch, and there was no earthquake.
That's fantastic. Let's do
So I
that,
always,
Madeline. We'll support that here. We'll
yeah,
include that into our meditation and we'll
yeah,
include that in our prayer.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we can clear ourselves emotionally so the earth doesn't have to do it. And so that's another thing to think about. You can also thank the universe in advance for keeping the ground stable. You don't want to mention earthquakes when you're doing that. You want to thank the
Right.
universe in advance for keeping it stable and everyone safe.
Right.
And it only takes 68 seconds a day to do that. You need to do 17 seconds each time. Now, years ago, we had
17.
yeah,
17
17
seconds.
seconds. How about that? um, Years ago, we had a guide who lived in Sholo, Arizona, and her house was on the outskirts of Sholo, and it was going to be the first house burned by the rodeo fire, which at the time was the biggest fire they had ever had. So we all started thanking the universe for keeping her home safe and keeping the town safe. And we did this every day, and the entire town was evacuated. But when she was allowed back to her home, the fireman was there, and he said, it was the strangest thing. The fire came to within 1/4 of a mile of your house, and then it turned around and it went the other way.
Yay.
So you can create safety with your intention.
Yay.
Right?
So can I ask you a question with that? So you
Yeah.
said 17 seconds. How many rounds do you do? 4?
Yeah, well, you'd have to do at least 4. Yeah. And, so it's a daily minimum of 68 seconds. And then just each time you do it, it's a minimum of 17 seconds because that's how long it takes to combust the energy to the next highest level. That's why you're focusing on it for that long. It takes that long to combust the energy. So like if you have a conversation with somebody about a new idea you have, just for example, it takes 17 seconds for there to build up enough energy for it to go to the next state, so to speak. Oh, maybe we should look into this. Who's going to do this? That kind of thing. See? And 68 seconds is the daily minimum, but the more you do it, faster it can happen. And you can use this to create money, for example, or clients or whatever. You can use it for anything.
You're so cute. She does it. You do it, don't
Yeah,
you?
we do it all the time.
Right. That's great.
So anyways, so you could have that eclipse. That is one of the challenges, I would say, of April. Now, what could it be if it's not an eclipse? It could be the crash of the dollar.
You mean not an earthquake?
Yeah, not an physical earthquake. Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you. not an earthquake in the physical sense. Maybe it's an economic earthquake.
Well, here's what happens. It's a watershed event, but here's the first thing that happens. The bonds go up for sale, nobody buys them. Our Moody's rating changes. Our Moody's rating is already in the tank. The minute the Moody's rating goes down one more time, there's an automatic call on all the bonds that are out there. The bonds have to be fulfilled because they're at the top of the payment from every bank. Any bank who's
Right.
providing bonds, anybody who's got bonds, as soon as they call in that debt, those bonds have to be paid for, period. That's what happens.
Yep.
So as soon as that happens, there's a call, there's a run on the money. Our money, we're last. Bonds go first. Bonds are paid
Yep.
for first. And so that's where the crisis comes, and it's 1, 2, 3. It's very fast. It happens very quickly. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what's predicted. So within 2 days, that's it. Everything goes from we're okay to we're going to hell. That's it.
Exactly. Now, what's interesting about that, Jupiter and Uranus meet exactly on April 20th. And the next day, Jupiter goes into the degree of collapse, which is 22 degrees of Taurus. The day after that, Uranus goes into that degree. No, so I think it's the 24th. The 24th is when both of them get to the degree of collapse. Now that's the day after the full moon. So this is why I think whatever is happening around that full moon. It's not at the eclipse. I don't see it there. It's at the full moon. It's right in that time period. That the full moon's the 23rd. The day after is the 24th. The 25th, they're both still in the degree of collapse. So you know, somewhere between the 23rd and the 25th, things look like it's pretty serious. Maybe we'll get lucky. I don't know.
The preparations are in place, and we're going to get lucky because the arrests are going to take place as
That's
as the thieves start to grab what they think that is theirs.
Right. And I think that's what's going on. That's why you have the military showing up in the eclipse, right? And it's very exact. Mars conjunct Saturn is very exact within 1 degree at the eclipse. So,
So the 24th, 25th, that's when everything goes correct.
that's when it looks like it to me. And the reason I thought it was serious for New Madrid is because that Jupiter and Uranus are opposite the Uranus that was in the chart for the earthquakes for New Madrid in 1812. So it's like that energy is getting triggered again. And so I thought, well, that looks a little precarious. You know, I'm not saying they will have an earthquake, and maybe if they have one, maybe it won't be a big significant one, but there is some type of earthquake occurring around that time. And so and it could be economic. It doesn't have to be physical. It's just one possibility. And I'll say one other thing. One possibility does not mean that the other one doesn't occur. They can both occur. Yeah, all of them can occur. So, so
We
it's
can
not,
expect that, actually.
yeah,
You know, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, so you have a situation where April looks what I would call iffy, but the primary intention, you just keep this in mind now, is to have healing and learning for the not just the US, but for the whole world, because this eclipse impacts the whole world. It's not just for the US, but especially for the US because it's on the USA Chiron. Now, the other thing that, and of course, remember, there's all these great genius ideas coming up, right? So, yeah, there's good things coming out of this eclipse. It's not negative, it just has some rough spots to get through. Then Mercury goes direct on the 25th, and it actually takes quite a few days for Mercury to get moving again. And then it gets to what I call new territory, meaning it's out of the area that it retraced. And it gets to new territory around the 14th of May. And right about that time, really starting about the 12th of May, you get this nice party in Taurus. So it's Venus, which is money and love, right? This is great. The sun, which is great. We love the sun. Jupiter's there and Uranus is there, and they're all having this big party together, and they're making lots of money, and they're doing unexpected things. So there's unexpected money, unexpected growth, unexpected decisions from leaders. Okay, so now Sun conjunct Uranus can also suggest a change of leaders that's unexpected. So that can, so there's the question of, and it doesn't have to be your president. It could be other leaders as well, or corporate leaders. But certainly the president is one of the possible leaders that you might wonder if they might change. So so you have this very nice party that's getting started in May. And first, I need to tell you this one important thing, which is that all of these cycles are basically due to the fact that we have a spiritual revolution going on. So these are three planets. These are outer planets which have the longest impact. And Uranus, which is the planet of disruption and change and unexpected actions, is trine Pluto, which is the planet of power and the underworld and transformation and death and things like that. And they're in trine together. And these two planets, when they talk to each other, they're about revolution. They're about change and transformation in unexpected ways. But they're in a trine, which is a very, very positive cycle, meaning you get the least amount of disruption as you go through this revolution. And in the middle, between the two of them, is Neptune. Now that is the spiritual part. Neptune represents the spiritual world. And so you're getting a spiritual revolution as we go through this process. And these planets came into alignment last fall for the first time, but they weren't that close in terms of actually peaking. And this is going to take multiple years. They're closer this year. They get within maybe 3 years, 3 degrees of peaking, or 3.5 degrees, something like that. And then in 2025, they get within 6 minutes. Now there are 60 minutes to 1 degree. So they get within 1/10 of 1 degree to peak, and then they separate. And they peak in 2026. Now that, if you think about it, 2026, that's the, 1776, 250 years, right? Anyways, the reason this is significant is because as these planets are in these positions, they're not quite lined up right now, but as all these other planets wander around, they end up contacting these 3 planets. So right now what's going on is all these planets are going to first contact Uranus. So there's a disruption. Then they're going to sextile 60 degrees. They're going to sextile Neptune. So this is a new vision and a spiritual piece that's coming in. Then they're going to trine Pluto. So they're going to have a big transformative change. So these things are all happening within 3 weeks in May and early June. And so you get a total of like 14 different cycles occurring as these planets come along and go, hi, Uranus, let's have a disruption. And then, oh, maybe we should have a new vision. And then, okay, we're going to do something really transformative now. And so
let's talk about this. Here we are. We've got the crash on the 20th through the 24th. By the 24th, we've got a convention of states. How about that? Call it the Convention of States that has already happened here in Abilene at
Oh,
the Air Force
cool,
Base. Let's
cool.
get it going for real and
Mhm.
share what happened in Abilene back in 2018, 2017. I forget what it was. Back when we were supposed to have our RV initially. Okay, it did.
Right.
We've been pushed back and pushed back all this time. Okay, here we are. Here's my prediction. Okay, you'll like this. Here we are. We've got our the crash happening. When that crash happens, they're going to say, "Come on, RV, let's get going because y'all have it. Let's save the world." We're going to say, "Thank you, brothers and sisters. We're here. Here we go. Call us in." By the middle of May, we will have been through our redemption and we're on target for restoration. Now, what happens? The Convention of States has taken place. They've got to get their ducks in a row. They're going to remove the evildoers that have corrupted this nation, the world for so long. They know who they are. They know exactly who they are. Get them out of here, out of Dodge. At that point, we're looking at middle of May for us to have our solid footing here
Mhm.
in the new quantum financial system. Good.
Yeah, that's very possible.
See
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
there is the light. There is
Mhm.
the joy. Can you imagine 5 million people,
Mhm.
5 million people with joy and excitement about a hope for the future? What is that going to do for this world?
A huge deal.
Huge
And
deal.
and see what happens is you get, well, Venus conjunct Uranus is about unexpected money, right? And so that's happening at the same time that the sun is conjuncting Uranus and Jupiter. So those guys are saying, hey, the leaders are saying, we're going to have new technologies released and we're going to grow via these new technologies. See, that Jupiter
Yeah.
represents growth and Uranus represents the disruption.
We'll work with them.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that happens. And then the moon comes along and trines that whole bunch on the 17th. And that's why I tell people, hey, you better do something great on May 17th, because that's a great opportunity to do some, if you have a new product to introduce or something, you're going to start a company, that
Well,
the energies for that are off the chart.
that's a holiday too, May 17th, isn't it? Isn't that the day that the slaves were released? They celebrate.
I think
I
you're
think
thinking
it,
of June
Oh,
19th.
that's
oh,
June.
Juneteenth,
June.
Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think,
this is a Friday, and so it's a regular business day, which is great. And of course, it leads into a nice weekend. The 18th is also a very good day. That's when Sun conjunct Jupiter exactly. And then these things keep moving on, you see. So you end up having uh, Venus comes along and she conjuncts Jupiter. Now that's a lot of money. That represents a lot of money, the initiation of a lot of money. And then as they get together, they're actually at the very last degree of Taurus. Now that's significant because that suggests that they have the most money, the most value, the highest value that they could possibly have.
and what day is that?
I think I want to say it's either the 22nd, 23rd, or 24th. It's right
Oh,
right in there of May.
that's if the trading is continuing with the exchange rates and everything that we brought in, by then you'll already have at least 10 days of exchange.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah.
we're looking
So
at a good
and
time.
as that occurs, they exactly sextile to Neptune at the same time. And just prior to that, the sun went through there and it also trined, or sextiled, I should say, the Neptune. So the leader has a new vision, right? And then Venus and Jupiter come along and they are giving a new vision
Woo,
and
woo,
a lot
woo.
of donations. Donations occur under that
Oh, no
cycle.
kidding.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Let
a
me tell
lot
you
of
this here,
donations.
Madeline. What is going to happen is this. The minute that the quantum financial system is validated, the minute that we have this comfort that our money, that our future is golden and bright. There will be beautiful people coming from all over the world that
I
have
agree.
their assets that they want to bring to this system to get to the world, to make sure that it is filtered into every nation of the world. It's not just the people that are the 5 million that are in the RV that have this
Right.
money.
Oh yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
talking
Yeah.
about, hundreds of thousands of family members that have hoarded, that have kept their assets hidden because it's not safe.
It's
Okay?
not safe. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
safe.
I know quite a few people who, they go to the bank regularly to take their money out because they don't know when the bank will collapse, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they
right,
can't, right?
right,
That's
right.
that's just reality.
It's the sad
So
reality,
it's a
right?
sad reality. Yes, it is a sad
But
reality.
we're coming to the other side of that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's so much that's exciting about what's happening with new technology today in every way. And
Oh,
uh
incredible.
I mean, I had this discussion with our IT guy today about AI, right? AI. AI is in everything. AI is
Everything.
wanting to communicate every day I go to my computer. AI wants to be in my life.
Everywhere you go.
Everywhere I go, AI has
Yeah,
got something to say.
yeah. So
Pretty soon we won't be
then,
able to keep it out.
yeah, well, that's reality.
That's reality. Yeah.
So then what happens, you see, after these three planets go through and they do their discussion, shall we say, with Neptune, the spiritual part of this. Remember, this is all part of this spiritual revolution. And then these planets, one by one, move into the sign of Gemini. So Sun in Gemini, this is a leader who has a lot of different ideas. Now, guess what? Trump is a Gemini. Kind of an interesting detail. We don't know if that represents him or not, but it's an interesting detail. The sun, as it moves into Gemini, it trines Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, so Pluto in Aquarius it has a lot to do with AI and even control through AI. I mean, it's gigantic. But it also has to do with the distribution of power. See, when Pluto was in Capricorn, that was the signal that power was consolidating. And so that's what you saw. You saw all the elites get together and control everything, you see. But when Pluto moves into Aquarius, which it's in right now, and it's going to stay there until September 1st, and then it'll move back in there November 19th to stay for about 20 years. So, so in Aquarius, power is distributed. You don't have one big nexus. It's like your web. It's like the internet. You can't just take out the internet, right? It's distributed all over. It's not in one.
That's our paradigm. That's our business paradigm right there.
Yeah, right there.
Mhm.
So you have this distributed power, and the sun moves in, and basically this is a leader who's going to do transformational work. Well, that kind of sounds like what we're up to, right? And then right behind that, Venus moves in. Venus trine Pluto is big money. We had a lot of money with Venus and Jupiter and Venus and Uranus. But when Venus trines Pluto, this is like big money, big money. Then Jupiter moves in because it's a little slower than Venus. And Jupiter in Gemini is about the growth of things like transportation and communications and, oh, anything related to information, data, that sort of thing. So,
It's all frequencies.
yeah, so what you get is instead of a car, oh, and Jupiter's going to trine Pluto. Okay, so you're going to have the growth of transformational products that are related to Gemini and Aquarius. Okay, these are new technologies that are going to change the way we transport ourselves and communicate and so forth, right? So that's why I said instead of a printer, you're going to have a replicator. Instead of an internet, you're going to have some new type of internet, a quantum internet. You're going to have, instead of a bank account, you're going to have a quantum financial system. Instead of an automobile, you're going to have a hover car. You see, those are the kinds of
A
things.
teleporter
Or a teleporter, yeah.
in your house.
Yeah.
The teleporter provides your home energy. The teleporter sends you where you want. The teleporter brings who you want. The teleporter allows you to have communication back and forth with people, just like
Yeah,
we're
so
in
there
now,
you go.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
The
exactly.
teleporter does
Yeah.
everything.
Does all that stuff. Yeah. So you don't, so all this, and remember, these are all based on the fact that we had big major disruptions due to changes in technology, right? The earthquakes, right? And
Right.
so this is what happens. And then immediately after all that, along comes Mercury. Mercury comes and talks to Uranus. So there's more brilliant ideas that show up, and announcements, unexpected announcements.
This is in June.
Yes, it's actually the very end of May and the beginning of June.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then and then Mercury moves into Gemini. It conjuncts, it trines Pluto and conjuncts Jupiter, and then
Beautiful.
Venus conjuncts the Sun, and all that happens by June 4th.
Wow.
So, yeah, so this is a really, really unusual set of circumstances. I mean, I do, my good timing guide. I don't know if I've ever shown you my good timing guide.
You're going to send me that. Yeah.
I'm going to send you that. It has places where, like, I don't know if you can see this, but
Yeah.
some of these have like $+ days,
Yeah.
or
Right.
$3. Okay, those are times when you get 1 or 2 cycles that are good for money and growth. But to get 14 cycles, you see what I'm saying? That's highly unusual, highly unusual.
Yeah.
And all of this is really due to the spiritual revolution. And you cannot have our Constitution without a spiritual revolution, because our Constitution requires God to be in the picture.
Right.
Not just that God gives us our rights, but that the people have similar values that value God having given you those rights. And
I love that.
yeah, the moral, ethical agreements of what's appropriate and inappropriate, right? So that all has to occur, and it is occurring now through 2026. It'll continue on for years after that, but it's increasing during this time. And every time these planets go around, they're going to make contact with those 3 planets, and you're just going to see continuous changes related to the spiritual revolution. So that is really the crux of what's going on.
I love that. I had that conversation with Greg, who's got his first prayer group meeting coming tonight.
Oh, very good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, you seem just overjoyed. And I love just feeling into that energy.
Uh-huh.
So that to me is a huge indicator of what you just said, the 14 different signs. Like it's really exciting to hear your exuberance right
Oh,
now.
I am psyched. Now years ago, when I had to, I put out this guide, and I tell people ahead of time, what's happening for the year, and it's all color coded, so they don't have to know any astrology. So I do this a year ahead of time. So in 2019, I'm doing every single day. I have to go look at every single day, and I'm looking at 2020. And I was so upset with just looking at the cycles for 2020, I could not wait to get through that year. It was just the most horrendous time that I ever had looking at cycles. They were horrible. And they were not, you know, there are always time periods where things are challenging for a while and then they get better and then maybe you have another challenge or two there and so on. But this was like constant horrible challenges the whole, like from March on. And it was just horrible. And I was like, I had anxiety just looking at the cycles. I'm just looking at a picture,
Wow.
And so this really is the first time, and actually, the winter solstice for 2023 was really good, and I was like, "Holy cow, things are changing," and
Yeah.
it's happening. It's happening. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Things shifted for us about that time too.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we started having stable growth back then. It's still going on through this month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason, no rhyme or reason for there to be stable growth with this economy.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
something else is happening.
Mm-hmm.
As best I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you. It's not because there's some really good thing happening. It's not, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not the
No.
economy.
So Madeline, this has been so great. Tell me if you have one thing you can say here for us here at QHS Projects. You've said so much about the wonderful things coming, but key in on suggestions for us.
Okay. I I really like to use remember I was telling you about the 17 seconds and the 68 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use that process a lot. You can use it to create safety and, if you think you're in danger of anything, uh, but you can use it to create money. You can use it to create health. You can use it to create relationships. You can use it to create a home. I actually managed to get a home for free using that technique.
Honey,
And
let me suggest this. Do a call with Tracee on Wow on that.
okay. So I like to I want people to be focused on their intention of what they want to create during this time period. So
Thank
remember
you.
the primary message of the eclipse, the April 8th eclipse, and even the March 25th eclipse is about healing. We're going to heal. We're going to learn and we're going to heal. And we're going to have these brilliant ideas. We're going to have these genius thoughts. We're going to have visionary dreams. We're going to have intuitive leaps. We're going to have, all these incredible insights,
Beautiful.
right?
Beautiful. Right.
And so set your intention for that and that you're always safe and that whatever is happening is for our highest good. And so it doesn't matter if there's an earthquake, in the financial system. It has to crash somehow. So you can bring in the new one. It doesn't matter if there's a change but in your industry because it's becoming obsolete because something better is coming in, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so on. And so and if you do have an earthquake and maybe your house isn't in too good a shape, maybe you're going to get a new house in a better location. You need to think this way.
That's the God spark.
We tend to think, oh, woe is me, and now I'm a victim. Get out of that whole pattern.
Nobody in this group do.
No,
No.
that is not going to work. so just focus on creating something positive with these great energies that are coming in. And remember, it's not the time to start anything new because you're in Mercury retrograde. It's Mars conjunct Saturn. You need a plan. You need to figure out what's going on, what your options are, and you may not have a clear idea of what your needs are until you get to the end of Mercury retrograde. So one of the biggest things people do wrong during that period is sign contracts, because they don't know, they don't realize what their needs are until they get to the end of the period, and then they discover sometimes that, hey, I really didn't need to do that. I should have done this instead. So, so it's a good planning time and a good time to be focusing on creating your great situation in May. What are you gonna do with these energies when they come through? You know, have a plan. You know, like I say, do something great on May 17th. May 22nd is also fantastic. That's when Venus conjuncts Jupiter and they're sextile to Neptune, and the sun is trine Pluto. I mean, it's another great day. So there are a lot of incredibly wonderful energies coming up together at the latter half of May into the first part of June. We should be using these in a positive way to heal ourselves and to learn as much as we can, and to really focus on creating abundance, because
Beautiful.
it's our birthright.
It's our birthright.
It's our birthright. We just,
Yes, it is.
yeah, right.
I claim it. I claim it.
Yeah, that's right. You just need to claim it. That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Oh, good. I hope that answered your question. I mean, I think there is a lot to do with healing, and I'm hoping your replicator project is going to get a big boost with this.
I know it will.
Yeah,
It
it should.
absolutely
It
will.
should get a
Yeah.
big boost. Yeah.
All of our projects will have a huge boost with this.
I think so. I
Yeah.
really do. I think you're going to
And
have a huge.
as for the April window where we've got a little bit of a challenge, the reality is that the infrastructure has been laid into place so that come April, if things roll out, it's going to be okay, because the infrastructure was laid out such a long time ago. So it's okay, right? I'm not going to worry about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And come May, I'm going to party with the rest of
Yeah,
the
we're
group.
gonna party. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and maybe regular citizens will get their income taxes back since they were collected illegally, and that would be a great possibility for a lot of people, is to get their income taxes back. I'm talking about IRS ones,
Right.
collected illegally.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't
So
that be wonderful?
that would
Yeah.
be huge, and I think they are owed to the people, and one thing you can do with that is just to thank everyone, thank the universe for having already returned to you all the money that you ever lost, was stolen from you, including by any individual, corporation, or government, or was denied to you for any reason, because some of us women didn't get paid the same as some of the guys.
Let's add that to our volunteer call Wednesday.
Yeah, and or you loaned money out and it was never repaid. These are all the ways that your wealth has been reduced, right? So just thank the universe for having already returned it to you. And remember to use those words, for having already returned, because you want it to arrive in the present moment, not in the future. When you pray for something, you expect it to arrive in the future, but you will never arrive in the future. You're always in the present moment. So you want that money to come to you in the present moment. And yeah, and so we're having already returned it to you. Yeah, and you can do that, and you do that every day now through May 17th, 18th, 19th in there. It'll be coming.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll add it.
We're going to have to write up all these as like little mantras for this 68-second program.
Ah, that's a good idea. Yes, we should do that. Definitely. I'll write that up for you, Tracee.
Oh, right on.
That's
Thank
so wonderful.
you.
Thank
And
you.
I'll get together with you because I absolutely need a speaker April 4th. So maybe your calendar for WOW and see if that works for you or not.
Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys.
Thank you both. It's been a lot of fun. What a great informative hour and a half.
Oh my God.
You're awesome, Madeline. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Thank you for making this QHS project fly. This valorous admin team, thank you. The Key community welcomes you. Thank you for making your home QHS healthy and happy. Thank you for helping us place QH centers all around the world. Together, hand in hand, we make miracles happen. QuantumHealingSystems.org. Thank you.